There's no moral stance to be had in a preemptive strike. There is no Christian justification for attacking first. I think if you have the integrity to protect the oppressed, you do it wherever it happens, not wherever it happens alongside oil. Tony Blair has no authority to do this. He's the Prime Minister. He is not someone that we are supposed to follow into lethal situations without asking questions. We are so exposed to terrorism. The decisions of the next few weeks could influence the foreseeable future in a very, very, very awful way.
So, George Michael, you've just seen Tony Blair on his feet giving possibly the most important speech, certainly of this potential conflict, if not his career so far. Sum it up for me. Did he say anything new?
Well, I was waiting for some miracle, the same way I've been waiting for some new piece of information that will make me understand the way he's acting right now, but I didn't get it. I think the world knows that everything he's saying is true, but why would we go into this and attack Saddam at the same moment, precisely the same moment that Palestine is in the worst chaos we've seen? Sharon is attacking the West Bank, and we are going to attack Saddam Hussein. It seems like madness. What's wrong with holding Saddam down with one hand the way we have been, and using all this time and effort that we've been using trying to convince the international community of something they will not agree with, and rightfully so? Why couldn't we have spent this time working with Arafat and Sharon and trying to show even-handedness? We are so exposed to terrorism by doing both of these things, or ignoring one and doing the other at the same time. There's nothing new. There's nothing new in his argument. It's all true, but it's all irrelevant to many of us.
Now, in there he talked about willingness to let the UN weapons inspectors stay until July if necessary, which rules out a war for us. It'll be too hot. He talked about, giving Saddam Hussein asylum. Are there any glimmers of hope in that speech for you at all? Is there anything that made you think he is backing down, he is ready to listen?
I think there's no courage in saying, well, if Saddam goes into exile, we'd love to think that. If Saddam goes into exile, because, it's possible, this man is not behaving like a lunatic, he's behaving like someone who wants to survive. He, I think by now, is realizing he's not going to keep power of his own country, but he wants to survive. It depends whether he wants to survive enough to run away, because if he is driven by his ego to be a martyr, then we're all in big trouble. So yes, let's hope he wants to go into exile. Of course we'd accept that. Let's hope we can extend the time of the inspections. Let's stop this ridiculous talk of bullying the UN into a position quickly, and let's try and establish a conversation, because none of this seems likely to happen, but it seems nonsensical to most of us that it's not going to happen. The decisions of the next few weeks could influence the foreseeable future in a very, very, very awful way.
How much from that speech did you sort of glean that, is Blair trying to take the moral high ground, as he seems to be, let us be the liberators of the repressed people of Iraq under regime? He's, a practicing Christian. How much do you feel that you would want to challenge him on his moral stance over Iraq?
I would say there's no moral stance to be had in a preemptive strike. There is no Christian justification for attacking first, right? As though you can see the future. There is no Christian justification for that. And in terms of taking the moral high ground, I don't believe that integrity is selective. I think if you have the integrity to protect the oppressed, you do it wherever it happens, not wherever it happens alongside oil. And I think perception is everything. We are going to be tarred with the same brush as the American administration, and I'm proud of being British, and I'd like to stay proud of being British. Tony Blair has no authority to do this. He's the Prime Minister. He is not someone that we are supposed to follow into lethal situations without asking questions.
Unlike the Iraqis, we are blessed to be living in a democracy, or so we're told. Some of the latest figures show that 91% of people in this country disagree with this war. You know, 1.5 million people. 91.
Wow, fantastic.
You know, 1.5 million people turned out last weekend. What's your sense that you know that the man and woman on the street here in Britain are trying to say to Tony Blair, and is he getting that message?
I think there's an incredible, it's incredible to me that Tony Blair thinks that the lives of, I'm sorry, let me start again. It's incredible to me that Tony Blair would put the lives of men, women and children, because after all, the new dangers, dangers of terrorism, which are more real than the dangers of Saddam Hussein, mean the loss of life of men, women and children. Now those people, why do our opinions not care? It's not just the families of servicemen. It's just not just people affected in a certain area. We are being ignored even though we're being able to face a huge danger basically for America. And Americans deserve so much better than this. We deserve better, and we didn't elect George Bush. But unfortunately, we did elect Tony Blair. Americans really do not deserve this any more than we do. Americans are good people. Their administration right now is the most corrupt and self-interested administration possibly of American history. Tony Blair, I do not believe, thinks like those people. So I can't help thinking, after seeing what I just saw, that he just doesn't get it. You know, he's a good man. He just doesn't get it.
Okay, we've just lost the background, so let me just... Fine, okay, all right. Okay? Yeah. So, George, we live in a democracy. We keep hearing that, you know, the people of Iraq don't, and we are supposed to, yet, in your opinion, how much is Tony Blair representing the men and women who elected him?
Well, right now, I don't think Tony Blair is representing democracy in any way whatsoever. I would really like to know, and I think most of us would really like to know, in a position where 91% of the population is saying no, absolutely no, without the UN. I mean, I'm sure a lot of them are saying no, whatever, but 91% no without the UN. Why do the opinions of the people whose lives Tony Blair is putting in danger right now not matter? How can the people he's putting in danger, men, women and children, because these are the victims of terrorism, not soldiers, men, women and children, how do our opinions not matter? We voted for you and now you're asking us to risk our lives for America. America deserves better than Bush and we deserve better than Blair.
Finally, in a nutshell, is there anything new there, and what was missing from the speech?
There was nothing new there, absolutely nothing new. I think there was a lot of truth, but there was nothing new. And there was no point in that speech where Mr. Blair gave me the impression that he would take full responsibility for the first terrorist attack on Britain, because I think that's exactly what he needs to do. And I think the idea that he thinks we're going to forgive him when that happens is laughable. Okay. That's
Great.
And of course the Prime Minister facing a great deal of opposition both in the country at large and within the Commons itself. I mean, politically, how important is it for Tony Blair to get a second resolution at the United Nations? These are going to be debating this issue tomorrow and they're going to be voting on possible action against Iraq. Do you think the Prime Minister is going to face a rebellion? really putting themselves forward as the party of peace, if you like. James Mates reports on what Saddam had to say.
CBS News exclusive.
I was trying to say to my microphone.
It's an interview with work media have waited 12 years for, not since President McDonald grilled Saddam just before the last Gulf War, as he submitted to questioning by
Did you get a
journalists.
shot? I was accused completely wrong. Nothing.
Say, and he made it clear in the interview that he's prepared. Basically, lay out a situation where he thinks that Iraq will have to absorb a tremendous first and maybe second punch from the United States and its allies.
And he indicated that he would not obey US.
But no, there is not much time left.
Opinion in the Security Council is as divided as it's ever been over Iraq. It wants the UN to give the weapons inspectors at least another 4 months.
Iraq should be disarmed peacefully. Now, the time has not come to discuss all
of him throughout the last few weeks. What did you make of his performance?